Hi, Riggs here. My guest this week is a registered nurse, originally from Iloilo. He's now based here in Cebu. He's a businessman, a caver, a stand-up paddler, an amateur blacksmith. He has a foundry in his own house. Uh, According to him, he's a retired rope rescue technician. He is a former OFW to the Middle East. And to me, he's a friend, a good friend. I call him Dad. Okay. Um, I feel safe. Well, you will feel safe when he's around because he will call you out if he see you're doing something wrong. Okay. Please welcome Sir Randy Salazar. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Rope Access Chat. My guest today is Mr. Randy Salazar. Good afternoon, Sir Randy. Welcome to Rope Access Chat. Thank you very much for allowing me to interview you and share to our audience your experiences and journey to rope access and rope rescue. Sir Randy, can you introduce yourself to me and to our audience right now? What have you been doing and what are you up to?
Hi, good afternoon, Riggs. Thanks for inviting me and to your viewers. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Randy Salazar. I'm an outdoorsman uh, by hobby, by choice. I got into the ropes early 90s because of mountaineering. Then veered towards caving. What we used to do was the single rope technique, or the SRT before. Then slowly we evolved to technical rope rescue. I had a stint working as a rope rescue for gas and oil industry in Qatar for a few years. Here in the country, in the Philippines, I am a volunteer cave rescue guy for the Philippine Speleological Society as well as the Western Visayas Caving Association. So we are basically civilian volunteers for technical rescue. Uh, what do I do for? I'm mostly engaged in business. I've been retired from rope access, active rope access, so I don't do industrial rope access anymore, but more on the safety side. I get called on to help out on the safety aspects when there's a job being done.
So, your experience is very extensive, Sir Randy, no? I remember, I think it was in 2018 that we worked together in for a brief time. We worked together in the Mactan International Airport.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah, I remember you were with us there while we were caulking and sealing the facade, the glass of the new international airport in Mactan. So right now you are engaged in business. I understand you own a few bakeries in the south of Cebu City
Yeah.
right now. Yeah. So I believe you're also active in the motorcycle scene in Cebu. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I always see you joining the Oktoberfest here in Cebu. It's not just a small motorcycle that you're riding, right? Um, I always see you on big bikes. Yeah, and so, Sir Randy, what is your educational and professional background, if you don't mind me asking?
Okay. One of the reasons why actually I was engaged or participated in rescue because I'm a registered nurse. So I'm not the typical four-wall nurse, but I would thrive more in a high-stress environment like vertical rescue, for example. So that's why I took a liking to rescue at heights, for that matter. So registered nurse, but I'm not I'm more on the volunteer side as a nurse.
Yeah, so you're in the medical field. You used
Yes.
to be in the medical field. So, Sir Randy, you mentioned that you've been to Qatar in the oil and gas. Uh,
Yes.
as a what? Were you able to use your background in nursing, or was it for rope rescue?
We were both rope rescue and first response. So our specialty was actually rescues at height and confined space rescue. We actually had during our stint there, we had 38 live rescues from height and confined spaces, and over 400 plus medical responses in the oil and gas during the few years that we were there.
Wow, that's uh that's one hell of an experience, Randy. 38 live rescues, rope
Yes.
rescue, and
Rope rescues.
confined spaces.
Yes.
Uh, I can say that if you're only if you're 10 years younger or more, you could be working in Canada, in northern Canada, for for the oil and gas industry there. They're looking
If
for,
I was younger, yes.
yeah, they're looking for guys like you, but you can still do it, Sir Randy. No, the question is, do you still like doing it?
I actually enjoy doing volunteer work here in the country. Probably working abroad is no longer suited for me since priorities have changed. But here in the country, I'm on ready standby. I would like to say there are a lot of industrial rope access actually has took off in the last few years and is very popular. And we have a lot of younger, more talented, more stronger guys who are uh, able to do the job. So what probably is just needed is guidance. I now took take the role of probably doing this playing the second fiddle. Putting it simply, I rather enjoy being behind the scene, making sure that everyone's safe before they get out of the edge, making sure watching everyone's back. So presently, that is the role that I slipped into or evolved into now.
Yeah, I remember when we were in in Mactan International Airport. We were there as our guidance. No,
Yes.
I remember you were always calling us out whenever we are, walking along near the edge of the parapet of of the roof. No, uh, I remember Sir Randy is a very strict rope access technician and safety officer for us. So thank you very much. You kept us all safe there during the construction part of our work. So, Sir Randy, I also remember last month, I believe, that you train people for guiding, no?
Yes.
Because Cebu, in Cebu, in the southern part of Cebu, we have this canyoneering, right? And
Yes.
you were with another uh, instructor who is going to be another guest here in our rope access chat. But for now, could you briefly tell us what you did there in Badian?
Okay. Just a bird's eye view. On the side, a part of our side hustle is we work as training consultants for the Department of Tourism. So the goal actually is to better equip the local community guides so that they're able to do guideships properly, especially that Cebu is well known as an adventure destination. So part of that destination is doing activities that might be a little bit on the extreme side. Hence, if something happens, the guide should also know how to be able to do self-rescue or to get themselves out of trouble. So we were called in actually to help train the 936 canyoneering guides of Badyan, where the famous canyoneering is. So the team came in and then helped out to teach basics on basic rope rescue, not really high angle, but low angle rescue, and as well as swift water rescue as well. So from time to time, certain communities and municipalities would be asking for help from us, and we come in as training consultants. It's our way of, I would say, giving back, because we're enjoying these sports when we were younger, and now that we never expected actually it to become a tourism product for communities to make a livelihood out of. So being there before puts us in a position actually to give back to the community and help train them properly on how to guide tourists.
Wow. So most of the time, your hands are full. All right.
Kind of.
Yeah, I believe it was several batches of guides that you trained down there, right?
Yes.
So, Sir Randy, could we go back a little bit? No, I would like to ask you, when was the first time you did rope access or rope rescue for a living, to make it your passion that became your work?
Okay. Uh, let me just walk down memory lane. I formally started with ropes. I think, if I'm not mistaken, 1994. That was the heydays of uh, well, the birth of rock climbing and sport climbing in the Philippines. So I took a liking to sport climbing. A lot of guys were still exploring new crags, and we were part of that. We were making we were making extra, doing stints like the Marlboro Adventure team. If you remember back in the 90s, I was part of those marshals that look after the climbers who would try the walls. Did some stints with our local climbing gym back in Iloilo. Then we veered towards caving. Then I would probably say going doing it professionally on the industrial scale would be probably in Qatar, because then we were our minds were open to the international standards of how to do things. Before, in the past, we were limited with the equipment that we had at the moment, given where we are. The Philippines is still starting to embrace the industrial rope access ideas. So the industrial rope approach, we learned that actually in Qatar, especially confined space rescue,
Wow.
because our training basically is given the fact that it's an oil and gas, we would, as much as possible, try to do non-committal rescues.
Yeah. So, you you started with rock climbing, then caving, then you earn some dough by guiding or becoming instructors to Marlboro Adventure Team. That's Matt. Yeah, I remember those things, uh, going around touring the whole Philippines, right?
Yes.
Bringing their rock climbing wall and the jeeps that they use, right? So it
Yes.
was fun, right? Um, And then you went to Qatar to work as a rope access technician and high angle rope rescuer.
Yes.
So you were with a team of like-minded people. Can you tell me, Sir Randy, how many Filipinos or are there other Filipinos in your team in Qatar, and how many are from different countries?
Actually, the Qatar project actually was how do I put this? There was quite a lot of incidents and on the site that we were assigned to, and it was just a pet project to see if it works, so that they would be able, the company would be able to reduce operating costs if they would have an in-house rope rescue rather than calling the fire and rescue services of the industrial plant. So the team, the pioneer team, I was part of the pioneer team. There were four of us that comprises the team, plus one paramedic and our rescue lead, who was British actually. The four pioneer members of the rescue team were actually all Filipinos. And then towards the end of the project, we were supposed to go 24 hours ready standby. So our numbers were increased to two teams. So if I'm not mistaken, we ended with about, give or take, probably 15 to 20 guys in the rescue team after that. So we started with four plus one paramedic and rescue lead.
Wow, uh, that makes me proud as a Filipino. You know, you are the pioneers, four of you, with the paramedics. You know? Makes me my heart really, big in the pride. Let's go back a little bit, Sir Randy. During your stint in Qatar, what was the methods that you were using? Where did you base your training uh, for rescues? Because I understand that if you are working as standby rescuer, you even there's no accident on site, you are constantly training and trying to simulate actual accidents on site, right? So what
Yes,
kind
that is
of,
correct.
yeah, please kindly illuminate us on the process and the methods that you were using then.
Uh, well, first and foremost, before we activated ourselves as a functional rescue team, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we had over a month of preparations to get ready, simulations, exercises. We actually had the training tower that we practice on every day. So even if we are already standby, sometimes security and the head company would schedule an unannounced emergency just to test how ready we are and how fast can we complete a rescue. So we were under time pressure, as well as being on site and locating the casualty. So to us, doing that ready practice when the real thing happens, it seems like we were just drilling. So everybody's familiar. So part of the a majority part of the preparation was getting to know the site, having the site maps, doing a search and rescue all the time. Almost every day we would be doing drills, different settings, and by the time that we were matured enough as a team, we were actually challenging the members, actually coming up with scenarios that might not be that realistic that would happen in an oil and gas industry, but just to keep us on our toes, we would drill scenarios like, okay, you could not be able to rescue a trauma patient vertically, so how do you bring him out of a hole which is supposed to be just a vertical extraction, something like that. So just to challenge us. So but the stint in Qatar that we had put a lot of it puts a lot of importance on safety. So it was really safety based, that the last resort was for us to go out on the rope. So it's basically, if we could rescue non-committal, we're using clip sticks, we're using other methods actually to be able to do rescues. We would do that first rather than do the, hang by the thread thing that we're used to.
So, Sir Randy, is it safe to say that most of your skills right now, the ones you're using for teaching and instructing our local guides here in the Philippines, are you got this from your extensive experience in rope rescue in Qatar? Is that
Uh, Not necessarily, because some of the rescue fundamentals that we learn in Qatar are actually for industrial use. Majority, especially the trainings that I do here locally, involves the outdoors. We take some of the learnings from Qatar, but a lot of those learnings actually come from my organization, the Philippine Speleological Society, because every year we would do a simulation exercise of a cave rescue. So
Mhm.
different clubs from the Philippines during our national conventions, technical rescue guys actually would come together and discuss scenarios and would drill on technical rope rescue. So we actually in the Philippines have a ready volunteer group of cave rescue guys that can be activated within 24 or 48 hours if an incident happens.
Wow. So yeah, I remember you're still active in the caving scene
Yes.
here in the Philippines, and from time to time I see you posting in your social media account uh, photos of caves that you're going in, and part of them are you do mapping, right?
Yes.
Cave mapping.
Yeah.
And from the chart or from the history of rope industrial rope access, um, it is developed via because of the practices of people doing caving, right?
Yes.
Most of the, even if you are not certified for any of this certifying bodies, extensive and long experience in caving gives you more of edge, no, uh, against those who are just coming in to train for specifically industrial rope access. So, Sir Randy, how about the equipment you've been using before? Uh, what kind of equipment or are there equipment that you use, or you're basically using crucic cords and just carabiners, or and and the improvement that happened over time, did you experience those?
That's a very good question. Actually, I clearly remember when I got involved with ropes. My mentor, my outdoor mentor, I don't know if you know him, Fred Hamili, or known to everyone in the outdoor community as Tatang, actually saw me and my friends trying to rappel down a nylon rope with just slings and a carabiner in Bulabog Putia National Park. That was my first encounter with the caving group. They actually called our attention, telling us actually that what we were doing is unsafe, and asked us if we were interested to learn the dynamics about the rope, to come and find the Iloilo Mountaineering Club and find the Western Visayas Caving Association. So as a newbie when I started, I was doing things rather dangerously, for a lack of a better word, because I did not have access to the equipment and the knowledge. And gladly that we get to meet people, like-minded individuals that actually taught us the proper way of doing it. and then eventually, with these interactions and with the community, you get to learn, you get to dispel the bad habits, the bad practices, and then you embrace the new practices. Like for example, everyone started out as a single rope rescue technician, SRT. Then eventually, as you grow older, you would realize actually, okay, let's try to find in something. Can we do this a little bit more safer? Then the advent of industrial rope access, that you get to embrace actually the fundamentals of safety of industrial rope access, and it also makes sense. However, I also like to make a disclaimer that sometimes the equipment that we use for the outdoors and for industrial rope access is kind of different when it comes to the equipment. Like example, when we use caving harnesses are different from that of the industrial rope harnesses, because the industrial rope harnesses are just too cumbersome to take inside the cave. So you want a simpler approach when you go caving. Although part of the evolution for safety, which is being embraced by the PSS, the mother organization that I belong to, and which is I am also trainer for single rope technique, that we have now adopted minimum standards when it comes to equipment. So when it comes to caving, for example, descenders, the most basic minimum requirement for descenders would be the stop. So this is already internationally accepted by international caving groups as well, that they do not recommend using eights, the figure of eights. They don't use that. So the minimum basic requirement for caving is actually the stop, or its equivalent, the bananas or that, and then you go higher, you go rack. Unfortunately, the industrial descender, for example, might not work for the caving environment because of the environment, which is very muddy. Sayang naman yung industrial descender mo to be used. But the ID would come in very handy when it comes to non-committal rescues for hauling in a cave environment, in a safer, non-muddy environment. Of course, we've tried Prusik in the past, though I have my thoughts on the use of Prusix, that we should not be teaching Prusix as basics. These should be add-ons already to intermediate and advanced knowledge. When something goes wrong, you know how to revert back to the most basics, because of the fundamentals that equipments are evolving along the way. So we have to embrace it as well in terms of using the basic equipment, which is accepted worldwide, so that there will be interoperability. The reason for that is we never know when an international cave incident will happen.
Yeah.
So you must be you must be also inclined to know the best practices of other countries, so that you can marry, or you could be able to keep up with their practices, interoperability. I think this was also a learning during the recent Chow Olympics, which happened in Okinawa by some friends of us,
Yeah.
thinking that okay, we have very we were very advanced in terms of knowledge when it comes to the Philippine setup, but going on site in Okinawa only to realize actually that we're years behind the technology which is already being implemented by other groups. So
Yeah.
we have to evolve. Whether we cannot use the idea of saying, okay, we belong to a third world country. Now with globalization, there's access already to the equipment. It might have been a different story 10 years, 15 years before, but now as long as you have the money, or you know the right people, there is access to the right equipment.
Yeah.
And in fact, in caving now, you can't let us use Dyneema ropes, but now it's common now that they're using Dyneemas as anchors because of its weight.
Yeah.
But the first time we encountered Dyneema, nobody in his right mind actually, or the old timer cavers, wouldn't use it as an anchor because it was just too thin.
Yes.
So a friend of us had to show us how sturdy it is by cutting Dyneema rope just for us to trust it. So
Yeah.
it evolves.
Yeah. So, Sir Randy, you were really one of the pioneers of let's say, uh, rope rescue and industrial rope access and caving here in the Philippines. Because you mentioned names of people who I met long time ago, Mr. Fred Amili.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been together in during the rescue operation in North Luzon in I believe it was 1990 or 1991 during the Luzon earthquake. I met them. I met him there, um, and he was the one who caught you using or rappelling using primitive,
Nylon rope. The
yeah,
blue nylon rope.
nylon rope. Yeah, that's used to pull tugboats, I believe.
Pangka.
Yes. So over time, you saw the improvement and the evolution of rope access, rope rescue, caving equipment. Because
Yeah,
in
dati-rati kasi ano eh. Dati-rati kasi we did not have access to harness, so we had to make them ourselves
yes,
using our favorite material was actually your seatbelt na
uh,
tinatahilan natin. For the buckles, we would have to have that crafted actually to make the buckles for the because during back in the early 90s there was no access to petzl harnesses. If you can afford or somebody leaves to have one, and then the basic descenders that you have was the 8 or the rack. Uh, Nobody really had even carabiners were very difficult to get hold of. So we were learning with the basics. Ang malaking tulong dyan actually would be, I would like to disagree that I'm one of the pioneers, but I would like to give credit where credit is due. The pioneers like Fred Hamili, who actually mentored us, a lot of us actually in the industry, that who we are now was because of his mentorship in terms of ropes.
so you were the real cowboys, if I can use that word, of caving and climbing before, because you were using equipment that was that has no load. They're
There
not
was no ratings.
they're not rated. They're not
Those
tested.
are not were not rated during those times.
Yes, and I'm very fortunate to tell the world that I'm able. You're here, and I'm able to interview you, and you're alive, and many of our
Only salamat yun ah.
and some of the people that I knew are already left us in this world, and unfortunately, because even they use the rated equipment. I remember during the mid 2000, I believe, one of our fellow caver here in Cebu perished, who fell to his death, no. Um, and he was using rated equipment, rated harnesses, rated helmet. I believe
And
it.
he's a good friend, and he had the technical know-how, except that you have to, well, us us people actually in the rope world, we have to accept it that this thing we do is risky. There's really a risk. It would be foolish to say, okay, there's no risk involved. It's a dangerous occupation. If you are into caving, it's a dangerous sport. That one mistake that we do could cost us our lives. And it doesn't mean that when there's an accident, oh, this guy's banga or does not know what he's doing. But a lot of factors can come in. Fatigue, long hours. One good example of that would be your heuristic trap. If you're familiar with the heuristic trap, because the guy is so seasoned or well respected in the industry, nobody double checks him for safety because he already knows. So the tendency is, oh, because he's already know, he's gonna be fine because he knows what he's doing, and there's no double check. So an accident can happen that way. So I really believe that even how good you are, you should be able to accept that, even you yourself might be missing out on small things that a buddy or a climbing buddy or a rope buddy can do a double check for you that you might miss out. A good example of that would be like an open carabiner, for example,
Yeah.
because you're just tired or you're just in a hurry. So accidents can happen, and we have to be very wary about the heuristic trap just because we're seasoned.
Okay. Yeah, you are correct there. I will further comment on that when we come back after a short break, Sir Randy.
Okay.
Okay. You have watched the first part of my chat with Sir Randy Salazar. I hope you like the page and comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please watch out for the second part. I will be publishing it next week. And see you again. Thank you.